There is widespread violence and chaos at the heart of conflict-torn Yemen, deeply affecting the lives of countless people. Women face a permanent struggle to secure their rights, maintain their dignity, and ensure their safety. A society plagued by deep-rooted gender inequality and patriarchal norms is bearing the brunt. These women, who are often marginalized and neglected, face a multifaceted struggle for your rights, safety, and respect, even in adverse circumstances. For 13 years, Yemen has consistently ranked lowest in the Global Gender Gap Index determined by the World Economic Forum. It is a fight that goes far beyond cultural norms and societal expectations. The current conflict involves deep-rooted gender inequality and patriarchal practices that have been passed down for generations. The ongoing conflict within the country has further compounded the challenges faced by the civilian population, with a particularly disproportionate impact on women and girls. Gender stereotypes, discriminatory laws, and economic inequalities have increased women's vulnerability to violence. They have been left in dire financial straits, with limited access to food, water, sanitation, and healthcare. In many societies, a cultural framework characterized by inflexible gender norms exists, which stipulates that men play the role of protectors for women and their families. In the absence of a male partner, women become more vulnerable to incidents of physical and sexual harassment. The obstacles women face in Yemen go beyond cultural traditions and customs. Women in conflict-affected areas must also grapple with the difficult reality of limited mobility, increasing domestic violence, and lack of access to essential services. Apart from this, they are also subjected to attacks, arbitrary detentions, and other ill treatment by security forces during protests. Negative gender stereotypes, economic inequality, and discriminatory legal systems further increase the vulnerability they experience. The Yemeni crisis has had a disproportionate impact on women and girls. However, their participation in peace discussions may be higher, even though resolutions passed by the UN Security Council emphasize the importance of women's participation in peace negotiations. While acknowledging the dire circumstances women face in Yemen, it is important to recognize the work being done to empower and support them. Notably, many initiatives have been launched to improve the lives of women and girls in Yemen. For example, the Yemeni Women's Agreement for Peace and Security, which has received support from the United Nations. This is a very encouraging effort. Yet there are persistent obstacles to implementing its objectives into practical measures. Prioritizing addressing the specific barriers faced by women in Yemen is important in advancing gender equality, as it plays a vital role in the country's progress and development. Urgent reforms are necessary to advance and protect gender equality. These efforts should also include areas where authorities have imposed restrictions on women. Women's trade unions are promoted to facilitate gender-equal participation in economic policy dialogue. Small and medium-sized enterprises receive technical assistance to provide better investment and employment opportunities, increasing household income. Additionally, financial assistance is offered to women-owned SMEs, enabling access to loans and financial products. Implementing these projects is important in establishing viable and sustainable means of livelihood for women in Yemen. By encouraging women's participation in political and social spheres, women's perspectives, concerns, and priorities are better addressed. The well-being and empowerment of women in Yemen is dependent on critical factors such as education, health, and access to clean water and sanitation. Girls' education should be given priority, and programs including training for parents and community members on child protection should be organized. Remedial and alternative learning programs increase enrollment and retention rates for girls, thereby reducing the gender gap. Additionally, children with disabilities are not ignored, and support is provided to enable them to continue their education. UN human rights experts recently released findings that provide information about systematic violations of the rights of women and girls in Yemen. The violations outlined above include limitations imposed on individuals' freedom to move, express themselves, and maintain good health, along with the widespread presence of discriminatory practices. Authorities have imposed more restrictive travel rules for women, now requiring them to be accompanied by a male relative or obtain formal consent from their male guardian. The implementation of these limits has resulted in Yemeni women and girls being successfully isolated from accessing humanitarian assistance. Therefore, not only their overall well-being, but also their potential for future growth is being impacted. Not only this, today is a bitter milestone for the people of Yemen as they are going through the 9th year of a long conflict that has affected the lives of everyone across the country. since the ceasefire took place in April 2022 and expired 6 months later. Yemen has been relatively quiet in terms of active conflict. However, beneath this layer of peace lies a worrying state of suffering. According to the 2024 Humanitarian Response Plan for Yemen, an estimated 18.2 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. This includes 4.2 million women and 4.8 million girls, a staggering 49%, with a fragile roadmap to peace in an uncertain future. Yemeni women and girls, who are an integral part of Yemen's recovery, are bearing the brunt, mostly in silence. After nearly a decade of instability and displacement, Yemeni women, especially those who are single-handedly caring for their families, feel they lack possibilities to become self-reliant and rebuild their lives. They are too busy helping their families merely survive, with many living on just one meal a day these days. Unfortunately, the light at the end of the tunnel seems less and less to them. The humanitarian aid in particular that they rely on is being significantly reduced, says Bushra Al-Dukaina, program coordinator for Care Yemen. Women like Khadija, a mother of 4 who escaped the conflict and lives in displacement, have to rely on food aid to protect their children from hunger and ensure they stay in school. These days, Khadija has to feed her children pieces of ordinary bread soaked in tea for breakfast before they go to school. We don't have much access to clean water or health care, but now I'm also worried about how little they are eating. I don't think I can keep them in school much longer because I will have very little money I will spend on food for them. Any hopes they had of growing up and standing on their own feet are fading, says Khadija. More than 30% of Yemeni girls are married before the age of 18 because families can't afford to feed them. These numbers are very likely to increase as a result of the current dire economic situation and dwindling humanitarian and development funding. Yemeni people want to secure a strong future for their children. Instead, they are forced to focus on meeting immediate life-saving needs, requiring some to make very difficult, potentially irreversible decisions, especially for their daughters, said Iman Abdullahi, country director of Care Yemen. Yemeni women are capable and determined, but they cannot perform miracles without doing anything. Not being able to meet the immediate or long-term needs of their families will mean that the conflict will continue for generations to come. Currently, more than 4.5 million Yemeni children, 1 in 4, do not attend school, putting their future at risk and increasing security risks. Girls of school age between 6 and 14 years are among the most vulnerable groups at risk of missing out on education. The more we see early marriage because families cannot meet basic needs, the more we will see the resulting consequences, including mortality among children born to mothers under the age of 20, maternal and adolescent girls. More risks to health, more dropouts from education, and increased child labor. These women and girls, along with men and boys, create the future of Yemen, and it is the next generation that will be most affected by this worrying situation. We urgently call on all parties involved, including the international community, to put the Yemeni people, especially women and girls, at the center of their decisions and actions, Abdullah urged. We hope that a decade from now, they can look forward to growing into the remarkable and inspirational people we know they are. CARE has been present in Yemen since 1992 and works in 14 governorates, reaching approximately 2.8 million people per year with programs on food security and livelihoods, water, sanitation and hygiene, reproductive health, women's economic empowerment, and education. The continued advocacy of women's rights and empowerment is an important component of the country's broader struggle for peace and stability. It is important to build a society where women can exercise their rights free from violence and discrimination inside and outside their homes. The road ahead is challenging, but the resilience and determination of Yemeni women serves as a beacon of hope for a brighter and more equitable future. To achieve this goal, Yemeni authorities must lift restrictions placed on women's freedom, and the international community must insist on an independent accountability mechanism in Yemen. Through concerted efforts, Yemen can move toward a future where women's rights and empowerment are not mere aspirations but an actual reality. And to imagine this future, the people there and the government there will have to come together. And all of them together will have to change their thinking so that a woman can breathe freely in her country. And they can fly their dreams and show the country and the world that the women of Yemen are no less than anyone. If she wants, she can match the women of any country and can also give them tough competition. But for this, the restrictions imposed on them will have to be ended. which will have to be started by the government itself so that their country can move towards a new future. So friends, what do you think about the ongoing fight between the government there and the terrorists there? Will the women there get a good life, or will they continue to suffer as usual in this rebellion that has been going on for centuries? Please let us know your opinion in the comment box. If you like the video, then hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more informative and mysterious videos. See you soon with a new video. Goodbye.